Hi guys, some gamer dude here. I wanted to spend today and tomorrow theorizing on who the rulers are for both the Lapis cluster starter decks and the Curse of the Frozen Casket, L1. Why theorize? Because, well, nothing better to do, and theorizing is always fun. It's what my playgroup does a lot when the preview trailer starts showing and people don't shut up about it. Not that I mind that much. It's fun theorizing. So we have the names of the 5 starter decks. We have had them for quite some time actually. They are Fairytale Force for Light, Rage of Aurelia for Fire, Malefic Ice for Water, Swarming Elves for Wind, and Vampiric Hunger for Darkness. I can't tell you how happy I am for vampires to come back, even though we basically have it confirmed at this point it's not Dracula. Dracula is pretty much my favorite Grim era ruler. I wish I could have played him during Grim and had a fun time doing that. The current meta is the vampires just simply don't work well enough. I could make something else, but you know, it's not thematic enough and I'm like, why bother? So let's start with vampires actually, because they're the most obvious one. They're the ones we actually have the most information about, because we actually have a picture of the starter deck and we have information that the vampires this time around are Western vampires, but are, well, Westernized in terms of being what Westerners would think vampires are, not the Eastern vampire zombie hybrid Jiangshi or Kionshi, as the Japanese would pronounce it. And again, this guy's been shown prominently. He's on the front of the starter deck, and I think that would be him. We'll call him Igarashi, because Castlevania. The next most obvious one comes from ICV2's data. ICV2 is historically accurate and always has been, despite Jordan going, no, it's not. Sorry mate, it is, and it always has been. You'd actually have to be foolish at this point to believe it's not accurate. This would be the connection between Faith Singh and Swarming Elves. That by itself doesn't mean much, but Faith Singh is a very prominent character, and we know she has a secondary artwork by the same artist in slightly different clothes. All of that is characteristic of J-rulers quite regularly, to the point where half the J-rulers do have different clothes, and all of them share an artist on both sides. As much as I'd like it to be Christie again, it's simply not happening. And I don't mind Faith Singh. Fairytale Force is the first hard one to pick. Not so much that there isn't obvious choices, but because there's evidence both ways. I think both of these characters are light rulers. It's just their placement between the set and the decks that I draw question on. The name of the deck is Fairytale Force. We have Grim's son in this set, well, between those two sets, and is a prominent character. This would be Milliam. He has his father's book. His father and his aunt are both always light cards. So reason would be to, and oh, I forget, Milliam has 2 different artworks. One is Combat Ready, and they both seem to be by the same artist. I may be wrong. There's slight differences in the face, but the artistic quality of the body looks about the same. He seems like an obvious choice. However, there is a knight shown on the preview poster for the cluster itself, which has prominence in front of Grim. He is also in the trailer shown in duality, giving salvation to the vampire's destruction. Vampire giving destruction has its own little quirks. That'll probably come up next video, because Milliam has another slot he could fit into. This knight is probably the other light ruler. The reason he can fit into Fairytale Force is the name itself. Force being the keyword. Fairytale Force implies a fairytale army or a fairytale police force. Whether that's accurate will be seen, but there is an even chance for both Milliam and the knight to be in either spot of the 2 rulers for light. Fire is next up. I think I have a good idea who it is, but it requires a bit of backstory. Now, the name of the deck is Rage of Aurelia. For those who aren't particularly up on the Cthulhu mythos, Aurelia is a sunken city with spherical looking objects on it and a big monolith citadel that comes out of the ocean. This is in the trailer, actually. This is Aurelia. It's above the ocean, which is not in the Cthulhu mythos, but they're free to do whatever they like. Speaking of free to do whatever they like, do you remember what happened to the Cthulhu at the end of the Grim Cluster? They died. The Ritual of Millennia, which Kaguya sacrificed her life and was in turn reincarnated afterwards, killed all the Cthulhu. It also reincarnated all of the Cthulhu as human. Well, with the exception of a few minor entities that were cast into oblivion, as is put. We even have one of the human Cthulhu in G4, Lunya, who is also in this set and is Nyarlathotep. You know, Little Dread, the fake Little Red Riding Hood. So this whole segment, all those people are Cthulhu. Every single one of them. They've got the connection to Aurelia, they're Cthulhu. The race may not be Cthulhu, but they certainly have a connection to it. I also hypothesized that later on in this cluster, or maybe in this very set, well, I'll have to ask tomorrow on the stream, but the Cthulhu are returning to their old bodies. There is imagery shown from the announcement of the Lapis cluster that shows little Dread in her, well, Nyarlathotep, currently Lunya, in her original wolf girl body. Original as in the first one shown in this Force of Will. So Jordan said a couple of interesting things regarding the Cthulhu. One, their ruler is a male, and two, he is mostly Cthulhu. There's also the fact that he said they're mostly black and why limit them to just one ruler, but that implies another set of circumstances that we'll probably get to in the next video. The Cthulhu here, all of them are female except one. Is he the Cthulhu ruler? Well, there is evidence towards saying yes, and I think yes he is. I think it's very hard to question this. The final image is a character that my group has called the Red Mage, or the Fire Mage, because he's obviously a mage and he has red hair. If you're familiar with Forceful enough to know that Forceful has connections to a musical group, Everlast, you might know that Everlast has their own site. This site shows imagery not found in the trailer, not found in the site, not found on ICV2. Where this gets interesting is this guy, the Red Mage, has a secondary artwork by the same artist with different clothes. That's very interesting. Those are all themes that happen only in rulers. Pattern. I have had it put to me the argument that, oh, because he's on the packet, he will be in the set. Here's the thing about the packet. The packet is very clearly a spell card, just like Battle for Antarctica before it. The patterns of the packet imagery has changed significantly since A3. They're going for artwork that showcases a lot of characters and looks dynamic or interesting versus just showing a ruler. Not to say that these cards aren't rulers. We also know that the set contains support for the decks and it contains the memoria for the rulers. The set and the decks are one big set together. So, I think we have our fire ruler. Finally, we have the water starter deck, Malefic Ice. Malefic Ice is probably the strangest of the decks as it really doesn't tell us anything. And it doesn't tell us any iconic fairy tales. It just tells us look out for frozen things. And they're probably villainous. Malefic meaning things related to villainy. So, with that in hand, scouring the trailer, because we do know the trailer has all 10 rulers, there's 3 possible candidates, but I think only one of them is. The first off being this dragon. It has icicles coming out of it, and it's shown just before they show Lumia in the testicular frozen casket. Lumia is not a villain, it's not her. Second of all is this golem, or machine or whatnot, shown with icicles in front of him. I cast doubts on that quite heavily. It just doesn't seem right. Next up there is this character in the Cthulhu segment. Now you're saying, but aren't Cthulhu's all fire and darkness? No, he said mostly. Mostly fire and darkness. This character, you might not see it straight off, but has icicles and frost around them. Back to the Everlast side, it's much more prominent. She's standing in front of some type of frozen castle. I suspect this is our ruler. This or the dragon. Reason being is this woman certainly looks villainous. The Cthulhu are a major plot point, and she's shown on the Everlast site. All the other characters on the Everlast site are prominent characters. The Red Mage, Jordan has said as much. He is a major player. So it's all leaning towards her. There is also an argument for the dragon being shown before Lumia, and the Curse of the Frozen Casket probably tying into Malefic Ice. But I do think it is the Cthulhu woman. I have also had it put forward to me that it is Lunya. There's a few things that bother me about Lunya being the ice ruler. One, Lunya and the Nyarlathotep have never been linked to ice. Lunya water, sure, in her old design. Lunya also in this artwork has wolves. Clearly a reference to the old werewolf deck being headed by Little Red, her Little Red. But saying that, there's no red themes about the card. It actually looks really colourless. There's no colour about it. It's a very black and white looking picture. That may be deliberate. But the wolf themselves in this would be wind themed. We know animals are wind, with the exception of werewolves. So, there are my theories. The Red Mage is the Cthulhu, the vampire which we call Igarashi, is the darkness. The water deck is very likely this Cthulhu woman. Light could go either way between Milliam or the White Knight. And wind is Feetsing. Come back tomorrow for the second half of this video, where we will talk about the set. The set will be interesting, to say the least, because it's most putting together circumstantial evidence and certain things Jordan has said. Bye.